Hope is arguably one of the most important reality in our lives. Without hope, we cannot live. Without hope, we cannot face anyone or anything whatsoever. So hope has always had to be there for us. And hope is actually a powerful feeling which instills and creates courage, motivation, and wisdom in and within our souls and our hearts. So, hope directly impacts our internal being. It actually makes us stronger and motivates us from the inside, and then we are able to make a difference on the outside. So, hope is important. Hope is not always a human being, but rather it's a strong feeling that we always need in our lives. If we reject hope, then we are going to suffer and we are not going to have any kind of success whatsoever. So, hope is one of the most important feelings of motivation and courage which governs our life, relationships, as well as success. And some people cannot live because of lack of hope in their lives. Some people are not able to be successful because they do not have hope in their lives. They may have rejected it, or they are so unconfident or so depressed that they cannot seek hope or cannot believe in it either. But hope has to be there. And some people cannot live or be successful because they have no hope in their lives. They lack hope. And it's also important to keep in mind that hope does not always lead to positive outcomes or favorable consequences. Hope is just one of the many virtues and qualities of our lives which govern our well-being on the inside. So hope is important for us to live a well life, a life which is good, and a life which is marked by motivation, courage, and good deeds requires hope. But hope is not guaranteed to lead to great success or great ways of living, because hope is only one of the many virtues of the mind and the heart. The other virtues include courage, wisdom, morality, ethics, and the rest. So, hope is only one of the many virtues and one of the many requirements for living and for being successful. But hope does not always make us successful. Sometimes it leads to success for some people, but it's not a guarantee that success is always going to be there because of hope. Now, we need hope because of the fact that we need success in our lives. Hope drives us towards positivity. Hope drives us towards success, accomplishments, and worth. So, hope is important, but we should not expect a lot from hope, because hope is not, as I've said earlier, guaranteed to lead to or produce positive or favorable consequences or outcomes. Hope can always lead to a good life, but hope is not a necessary or indispensable producer of success, because there is always different obstacles and hurdles that exist in our lives regardless of hope. And if we consider the other side, then we find the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who has said that hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of men. So Nietzsche said and believed that hope is actually an evil, and it's the worst evil because it actually extends the sufferings of men. Hope does not mitigate or minimize the sufferings or the misfortunes of men, but rather it increases or prolongs the hardships and the pains of men, because it always makes us believe that it is going to produce good consequences or good relationships for us in our lives. But hope does not necessarily lead to the creation of relationships or romantic bonds in our lives. Now, we have to create them by ourselves with the help of other qualities and other virtues that are as equally important as hope itself. So, with only hope, we may not be able to go that far. We have to work on ourselves for all the qualities. We have to be moral, we have to be ethical, we have to tell the truth at all times. So, we have to prepare ourselves and develop all the different moral qualities and conditions that are actually essential and indispensable for the creation of success, relationships, friendships, and the rest of the good things of our lives. So, hope is only one of the many requirements. We cannot be solely dependent on hope and believe that it is just going to magically produce all the uh, desirable outcomes that we want, because the opposite always has the chance to happen. Sometimes the opposite or the contradiction takes place, and then we lose hope. So we should not be over expecting or overestimating the power of hope. We should believe in hope. We should have hope, but we should not concentrate all our energy and all our attention on hope, because in doing so we neglect or ignore the other qualities and the other conditions that are equally as important as hope itself is. So we have to develop knowledge, we have to develop education, we have to seek, develop, and struggle for morality and ethics. We have to learn uh, to be able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. We have to learn the different distinctions of people. We have to choose what we want in our lives and what we don't. And if we do not make these distinctions and choices, then our suffering is only going to prolong. We are going to suffer more because we have not made the necessary choices, decisions, and the changes that we should have made to our character as well as to our lives in order to make ourselves more possible or more suitable for success and relationships. So it really depends on us how we choose to utilize hope. The way we depend on hope depends on us. And we should have hope, as I've said earlier, because without hope, we are going to be negative. We are going to turn to negativity and pessimism and nihilism without hope in our lives. If hope becomes absence, then we are going to suffer as well. If hope disappears or becomes absent from our lives, then we are going to suffer even more, because we are going to feel negative and worthless and valueless from the inside. And we may also feel that nobody likes us and that we're unwanted by everyone. and everything. And that's why we need hope. We need to believe in ourselves, and that is hope, which is a powerful emotion, a motivating sentiment, which gives us courage and motivation regardless of the circumstances or the consequences. And on the other hand, if we overestimate or expect too much from hope, then we are going to suffer. Because, as I've said earlier, hope is only one of the many important or fundamental pillars or requirements of life, which governs or makes success and relationships possible, but it is not guaranteed to make everything possible. It depends on us how we choose to utilize our knowledge. It depends on us how we choose to conduct ourselves in different circumstances and with different people. And at a certain point in our lives, we have to choose the people that we want in our lives and the people that we don't want in our lives. We cannot be with everyone at every time. We cannot be with all the people all the time, because not all people respect us, not all people love us. So we cannot return the energy which is not given to us. We cannot return the love, the energy, or the affection which has not been given to us. That which has not been given to us is not worth returning to. So we have to choose, and we have to make the necessary decisions. And we also have to have hope. We need to believe in hope in the midst of everything. In the midst of suffering, sorrow, misfortune, we have to believe in hope. We cannot lose hope. So there are a lot of problems with hope, and those problems have to do with us. The problems of hope depend on our own ways of perceiving, acting, and seeing things. The problems of hope depend on our own ways of understanding, thinking, and behaving. Because we do not behave as we should, we suffer unnecessarily. Because we think as we need to think, we run into unwanted conditions. And because we act badly, because we act in irresponsible manners, sometimes we suffer unnecessarily also. So all these problems lead to us, all these problems point to our own deficiencies and difficulties. Now, we need to work on our own deficiencies and difficulties, and we need to believe in hope. We have to overcome ourselves by believing in hope. We cannot leave hope behind, because that would make things even more unbearable. So we have to conquer ourselves. We have to overcome our problems and our deficiencies by believing in hope. So that's pretty much that. And the problems of hope arise only when we overestimate or underestimate the power of hope. Sometimes we expect too much of hope. We believe that hope is magically going to make everything possible for us. Hope is going to bring some people into our lives that have already rejected us. That cannot happen. Those people who have already rejected us or unloved us cannot be brought back into our lives. And we have to adjust and change our perception based on the realities that we face or that face us. And we have to believe in hope as well, as I said earlier. And if we overestimate the power of hope, then we are going to expect too much of hope, and that is going to create a lot of different problems, and that would make us believe that hope is itself an evil that does not make things possible for us, but rather extends our difficulties and prolongs our sufferings. But that is not really the case. It is our own ways of thinking, perceiving, behaving, acting that constantly land us in different troubles and in different predicaments. So we have to fix our own problems first. We have to deal with our internal self first. We have to know ourselves first. We have to know our capabilities first. We have to know what we actually are, and we also have to learn to accept our true original selves, and that would help us in a lot of ways to deal with the difficulties that we face in our lives externally. So that is that. We should always believe in hope, as I have said earlier, because without it, we cannot fight anything or anyone. In order for us to overcome ourselves, we need to believe in hope. In order for us to overcome our own problems and our own deficiencies, we need hope and we have to believe in hope. And in order to make something possible in the future or the present, we have to believe in hope as well. So I think you have understood something. And if you have, then please consider liking and subscribing to the channel.